political hat on.
Go ahead, put it back on, man. Put it on tight this time. Listen, go there. We're going there.
The talk show where we're kicking it and having fun on inspirational radio. We're the talk show, kicking it and having fun. So turn your radio up.
We know as of today that our former president has been
indicted.
Sounds like you're excited about that.
Indicted. yeah, but he still ain't going to jail though.
Now, hold on, let me put my political hat on.
Go ahead, put it back on, man. Put it on tight this time. Listen, go there. We're going there.
No, I'm not gonna be there long, man, because again, I've said it on other shows. Like I don't care what party Donald Trump ran for. I wouldn't vote for him because of lack of leadership, and I wouldn't vote for him because of lack of humility. I heard something today. It was like a snippet. No, not today. It was yesterday. It was like a snippet, and I gotta take my hat off again, because this refers to, I heard it on another Christian passage, right? A Christian channel. And they were trying to point out the fact that, Donald Trump is a man of God. And because the Republican Party, is against, hold on, let me finish. He's a man of God. The laws and the things that he's trying to put in place are biblical laws or Christian laws, because again, pro-life situations, against the letter community, all the different things that a certain sect of the church is really pushing for, right? And so they were trying to point out, and then in this message, this is one of his speeches, he was saying, I think they said he was the most famous person in the world. And he said something, no, I'm not the most famous in the world. Jesus Christ is. I'm second to him. And so, two things with that, right? How does anybody say that Jesus Christ, them, on the same level? Like, it just speaks to how highly he thinks of himself. Like, when I think about good leadership, to me is support that you lead, right? And so if you're always above them, and if you're always the best or the one that they have to like worship or be a part, that's not good leadership to me. And so that's why I have a problem with Donald Trump. This really has nothing to do with the politics of it. You know what I mean? Like Republican, Democrat, it really doesn't matter. Like whatever he ran for, like if he worked for a company that I worked for, I wouldn't want to work for him. That's how I see him as a leader, right? And so you're talking about the leader of the most powerful country in the whole wide world, and a person who lacks, I think, some of the major characteristics of a good leader, is that. And, this indictment to me, is kind of symbolic of that. And to your point, Dion, whether he gets arrested or not, Sonia said this earlier, like, what's taking so long? Like, there's been so many criminal activity, so many people around him that's been arrested, but this is the first time we're hearing about it. And the reason why I still have my political hat off is because as Christians, and this is my main issue with us as Christians, we keep tying ourselves and making him the face of who we are in the United States. And I think that's super, super dangerous. Like, to put Donald Trump and say that what he's doing is standing for the Christians and the believers in America because of the politics that he quote unquote is supposed to support, I think is very dangerous, and it really convolutes our witness when we're talking to people, when we're trying to witness to people. It really confuses the issue when we say one thing and we support something else.
I think, like you were saying, with I think we push agendas and we want to put it under the frame of Christianity. And I think that's not the real thing at all. I think every side has certain agendas that they want to push under whatever guidelines they want to push it under. And I think that as a Christian, we identify as Christian, but I don't know if we should be so apt to be in behind a personality. I think that's dangerous to say a personality because they run for a certain political office is godly. And then if you don't run for a certain political office, you're not godly. I think that's definitely an issue for running in behind personalities instead of sticking to the topic or the issues at hand. Because people characters, the word said you can tell a tree by the fruit it bears. Anytime you have certain characteristics in front of people, disrespect certain people, don't like certain people, you don't know how to respond to certain people, you just have an attitude or a personality of disrespect for anyone. I think that's not showing good leadership on any level, whether you're the president of the country or a company or your father in a home. Just being disrespectful to anybody is the first sign that you can't control yourself, because how come you have to act out on people because they don't agree with you or they don't look like you and they don't carry your ideas? That's not a good leader in any aspect if you can't control your own self, control your own emotions. Because the truth is, the president of the United States is the president over all 350 million people and counting, whether they're black, white, Democrat, or Republican. You're the president. You're everybody's president. You can't divide the country. It's not divided. You're the president over all. And so I think sometimes we tie ourselves to these political parties and they have their own agendas they're pushing, and we need to tie ourselves to Jesus Christ's party because he has the right agenda to push. Because these parties, either or, none of that stuff is really godly when you get into the details of what they really pushing and the stuff they want to say and do. It doesn't matter if they're Democrat or Republican. You just want to hide behind a Republican and say it's a Christian party, but it's not as godly. The Democrats or the Republicans, that's not what's happening. Because if it was godly, or if it did push stuff that promoted what God, we wouldn't have so many laws against different people of color. You wouldn't have so many standards. You go to the bank, my color, you get a higher interest rate, go to another person's color, getting a lower interest rate, merely off how I look, demographics and stuff. This whole country, we have a foundational issue that we don't want to address, but we covered up with symptoms and we covered up with political parties, but neither one of them are godly. The truth being told, our country would not be doing this bad if anything was going in the right direction. So we might as well just go and face facts and say, we got leadership issues, but it's at the core of our foundation. And that just is what it is. Democrat, Republican, somewhere in between. We got a lot of problems.
And there's a thing called nationalism, right? And, basically saying that, the United States was supposed to be built off of, Christian beliefs and things like that. And so I think that's what ends up causing this confusion, right? When you look, slavery was, something that the Bible was supposed to support, right? And was used to enslave people, right? But so that tells us right now that the leaders in the government, like the foundation of how things were even built in this country, would use the Bible to try to empower certain things, right? And to maneuver certain things. And, I can't help but to believe like leaders like Trump, who, know the talking points of evangelical Christians, people who, go to church and support different things. I can't help but to understand or see that, he's those are just talking points. Those are things that he knows that these are buzzwords that people like to hear, and they'll support him for that. Just like, I guess if there were more Satanists or atheists in the United States, I guarantee you he would push whatever talking points those people were pushing there, and I think that becomes a danger again for Christianity from the standpoint of us being able to witness and to share who God is. I heard a pastor say it like this: like, once we become saved, once we're a part of the kingdom of God, right? So no matter where we live, we're delegates on this earth. We're
That's
people,
right.
we're visiting a foreign country now, when it comes to that. And I think, where I wanted to kind of go with this is, if you're a Republican and you have a problem with and you're a part of pro-life, what is, kingdom-wise, what does that really mean? Like, do you honestly think that by, someone making a law that's going to stop people from wanting to have abortions or fix the root of the issue? Like, do we really think that's going to solve the actual problem? Because when you really think about it, what's the actual problem? People having, children out of wedlock that they don't want, that they didn't plan for, didn't want to take care of. So, for me as a Christian, and I'm just giving an example, could it be that your ministry, since you really care so much about that, is to reach out to, single moms or young people growing up? Like Lasagna said earlier, there's a lot of people that don't even know who God is right now, that don't have a relationship with God. But it's almost like we want politics to bail out what we're supposed to be doing in terms of ministry and witnessing to the people that we have influence and that we come in contact with every day.
I get where you going with those points, because we make laws and stuff, but the root of it, by the time they get, Sheldon, you said this one time to me, we were talking, by the time you get to the abortion table, it's too late. It's like, what are we doing before they get there? Why do you not think enough of yourself, to be waiting till you get married? Sometimes we're not trained on who we are. Most people don't know how valuable they are. Most people don't know how expensive they are. They have no idea, because when Jesus Christ paid a price for us, that's expensive. Like, you mean you're valuable, you're royalty. You come from a royal priesthood. That's what your words say about it. You are royalty. You are kings and queens. Your children are princes and princesses, and you are valuable. If you knew how valuable you were, you wouldn't give yourself away so easily, so pricelessly. You wouldn't think that way. And so we have a heart issue more than we have abortion issues or all these other issues. We have to get the love of God into people's hearts, tell them who they are, show them who they are by our lives, and they will make different choices. I promise you, how expensive you were, how much you were loved, how valuable you were, you would live different. You wouldn't be able to do anything to anybody, and you would think more of yourself. The problem is we don't think much of ourselves. We have low self-esteem because we're not trained to know who we are. We are devalued as children, and so you carry that into your adulthood, so you make devaluing decisions. And you do things that you would normally do. If you knew who you were, we would live totally different. I'm not saying anybody, I'm talking about even me. If you really could capture what God really said about you, who I really am, how much more would I be, or further along would I be, if I really could grasp an understanding of all that he paid for me, all that he did for me.
But one of the things that I did this week, the David Koresh documentary came out this week, or maybe the end of last week. I just watched it this week. And, one of the things that I noticed was they were interviewing some of the people that, stayed in the
compound,
stayed in the the compound with them, right? And, I was listening to kind of some of the verbiage that they were using. And again, for people who haven't seen that yet, I would definitely recommend, seeing it. It was very interesting. I think it's like 3 episodes. But basically they were saying things like, David Koresh was leading them and guiding them. And I mean, they really looked at him. I mean, I'm to the point where they called him the Messiah. Like, you know what I mean? Like he was the second coming of Jesus Christ. And so they were willing to do anything for him, and, they would say in their verbiage that they were doing it for God, but, the type of stuff he was asking them to do, I think, having relations with young kids, with, people who were married and, so forth and so on. So, things that don't even align up with the word of God, right? But they were tying it to God. And, that to me, and I remember saying this to my wife, like, it sounded a lot like when I listened to people who support Donald Trump, like how avid of a supporter they are. Like, no matter what he does, like even now, we don't even know what the actual charges are, but people are absolutely outraged that he's been arrested, and I've heard people ask people the question like, well, what if we find out that he really did do these things? And it puts them in this quandary, like, well, it's Donald Trump, and if he did it, it was supposed to be done. You know what I mean? Like, it's like to the point where the stuff that you wouldn't let happen to your little girl, or that you wouldn't let happen to anyone in your family, it's like you okay with this person getting away with that and being above the law because you're so ingratiated in who he is as a person. And so when I saw that movie, and I saw, I mean, even to this day, like they were interviewing people that, were kids back then that are adults now, but you can hear in their language and their thought about how highly they thought of David Koresh, even with the outcome, that being what it was, 80 some people, losing their life in that situation. And they still, you can tell that some of them really, really believe in what that was, even though, a lot of the things that he prophesied or he tried to say was going to happen didn't really happen the way he said it was, and it's the same thing with Trump. And again, I'm driving this point home because, for my Christian brothers and sisters out there, we got to be real careful on what we try to tie to our God and to our kingdom. You know what I mean? Like, for example, if I voted Democrat, I did vote Democrat, for the thing, for president, right? I'll share that. I don't know if I ever shared that publicly or whatever, but I voted for that. But does that mean that I agree with everything that the Democratic Party does? Or that I should agree with everything that the Democratic Party does? No. And I think that's where we lose it at. Like, we feel like because we voted for a person, like we have to be like 110% behind that particular person and everything that person believes and everything like that. I voted because that was my fiscal thing to do, right? Like, to choose between two people who's going to actually, lead us to hopefully a better place than the next person. That's it. Like, that's what I think about voting. And again, we let out with the conversation about what politics really is. So we already know that probably 70% of what this person is asking for, unless he can convince someone from the other party to go along with it, is not going to happen. Because somewhere in this political process, it's just not going to happen unless all of them, seem to agree or come to an agreement with it. You know what I mean? We were talking about gun control, Nothing's going to happen with it if people don't come to an agreement with it from both sides, right? So at that point, it's just, for me, who are the better leaders, right? Who are the better people that are going to make decisions for this country? But for this country does not separate or does not discount what we as Christians have to do in our communities and for the kingdom that we really, really are in line with.
And I think that we do have to separate, political views with what we have to. You believe how you believe. And we believe, like I believe what I believe. And I voted for different parties, all my career. If it's one person, I may vote one party for the president, another party for office, another party for this. I look at the person and I try to see what their agenda is. But at the end of the day, it's a lot going on. And sometimes who you voting for, something you think is not even what you think it is. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of times, it's just so much in our political system that does have nothing. It's leading us down a different path that I think we as Christians really want to go. And I think it's leading us somewhere, and it's getting all mucky. It's getting all, all twisted up. And I think some kind of way we need to pull it back, the, foundation of for the people, by the people, trying to see about people, trying to literally really push agendas that care for people. It takes care of the fatherless, the widows, the children, and have a system that really is taking care of what the Bible told us. See about the widows, see about children, see about the less fortunate, be concerned about people who can't do for themselves. The strong bear the infirmities of the weak is how the word puts it. And when you're in leadership position, you should make laws that care about people who are not seen about, who are the most overlooked, who are the most disenfranchised. You need to make laws to cover those people so that they can have someplace safe to abide in our nation. And I think sometimes that's the most overlooked people, and we're not making laws considering how the word looks.
I was just going to say, about how, you had your point about people wanting to deal with the fruit and not the root, you know what I'm saying? And that, that's what the problem is, you know what I'm saying? You got to deal with the root and not the fruit, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Because
the
abortion is just the fruit, but what's going on in your home that done got you pregnant in the first place, and what you done seen up to that point, what developed you into a little, pregnant teen is the root. You feel what I'm saying? And so that's what we got to deal with. These politicians don't want to get down in the roots. They just want to deal with the fruits. People would stop themselves from going to the abortion clinic if, they had a better upbringing. Oh, man, look at her. See, I done put it on some people, huh?
You did.
And at the end of the day, these folk running around shooting people, they not shooting people just because it's fun or whatever. They done been through some serious stuff at their home, and it's done caused them to snap, away from reality, and they feel like, hey, what I'm feeling or what I'm being told or what I feel like needs to happen is the people need to die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and that's the point. I mean, even when you're talking about abortion, it goes back for some communities, generations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just how people are brought up or taught about certain things. And that probably can be for a lot of issues that we've had, which means, which goes back to the main point, politics can't solve all of these problems on its own, right? Good leaders can make some good decisions to kind of stop some of the bleeding, but God has the church here on earth, like the body of Christ. I believe he has us here on earth. When Jesus walked this earth, he said, I give you a new commandment, and that's to love your brother, your sister, and your neighbor, to love people, right? And why is that love so important, right? Because if you have a lot more people loving on each other and seeing about each other, Lasagna, you got a joke, and I love this joke where you talk about, you know, the quiet person in the office, like you say you want to see about them, right?
Yes, sir.
Because,
Speak to them.
you know, if you have more of them, more people seeing about people, you know, and helping to maybe uncover certain things that they're struggling with in their circle, you know, ahead of time, then yes, that's going to help out. Then the people issue dies down. But, you know, again, some of these things that are happening political, like it only can take us but so far. Certain laws, like, you know, a speeding, you know, saying that you can't go past 75 miles an hour, you know, and an interstate don't stop nobody from going 90. You know what I mean? It's just a boundary that somebody's saying that, okay, if you get caught doing this, then this is going to happen to you. But it doesn't stop people from doing it. You know, there's a root, there's something that's going to push that person to do. And I believe that, you know, God has his people here on earth. Right. And maybe that's the issue. Maybe we think about salvation so selfishly, like, oh man, I'm saved. I learned these, you know, and I'm learning this Bible and stuff. And I want you to be saved. So I'm gonna quote all these words to you and tell you how bad you are or how far off you are. And that's the extent of it. You know what I mean? Like the actual love and building relationships with someone and getting to know them and, you know, having a situation to where they trust enough to be able even to share what they're dealing with. I can't tell you how many people, just by acting normal, just by being, you know, myself, being who God is making me to be, come and feel that they can trust me with certain things that they probably haven't trusted anybody else with, right? And what do you do with that information but give them God? You know, and use that opportunity to fill that gap with God. And the good thing about it is normally they're bringing something to me that I've gone through, that I've dealt with, and that I have some type of wisdom or thought with it. Like God is so creative and I mean, so thoughtful to even put people in your life that you'll be able to have that type of relationship where you can share wisdom of the mistakes and the things that you've gone through to help them, you know, either get past whatever they're going through or not go down a road that you went, you know? But that's the ministry of it, right? And, you know, the whole point of this show and what I really wanted to get to, and especially just seeing this week and all the conversations back and forth, there's just too many Christians, too many of my brothers and sisters, I feel like we're tying, you know, this political belief in. We ain't taking this hat off and separating, you know, our politics from what our Bible and what God is actually telling us as kingdom people to do. Just like you don't want to accept or you don't want to affirm what people are doing in the letter community, you shouldn't affirm what Donald Trump is doing. Like, it's the same thing. Like, if he's doing something wrong, by you not saying something about it or by you defending it, is the same as you saying it's okay for him to do it. Why? And then want to try to put a Christian hat on or a Christian you know, tag on it is really beyond me. So, you know, again, really appreciate you and Dion. Always good conversating with you guys. Some really crazy stuff here. You know, again, for all my Christian brothers and sisters who end up listening to this, you know, my challenge to all of us is just to really, you know, do a better job of, you know, let's work towards making sure that we are representing Jesus Christ in a better way. And if we're not in the place, like, I don't have a problem telling people, like, nah, this ain't Jesus. Like, slap me in my face or you do something.
Somebody else coming to the top.
Yeah. But we gotta be, I think, more mindful of that and careful of that. Because our politics all of our politics don't represent who God is. And,
That's right.
We want to make sure that we represent Him to His fullest, and have a delineation with that. And really, if you, and the other thing that I would challenge people to do is, if you have something politically that you really on fire for, you want to see, you're on the Democratic side, and you want to see the poor, helped, and you want to see, more laws around that. Well, maybe, just maybe, your purpose and your passion is along, helping the homeless, or doing something on the ministry side to help address that issue from without just the law side of things.
Appreciate y'all. Appreciate this show. Appreciate us trying to get our little rocks thrown in there. We try and do our little bit to represent God the best way we can, and be honest and transparent. We don't get it always right. We all a work in progress, and we just trying to help somebody else navigate this walk and lay some foundation that we all can, have something to be stable on, having a stable ground up under us. When all else go to heck, we have a God in heaven who hears us. He's concerned about us, and He cares about everyone. So that's my take on tonight.
We want to be spoon-fed our politics and our Christianity, and that causes an issue. I know you guys, I was having some technical difficulties earlier when you were talking about David Koresh and Donald Trump and the parallels there. And I've said on this show before that that is why Martin Luther, the original Martin Luther, not Martin Luther King, the original Martin Luther, was so important in getting the Bible and writing it down so that people can read it for themselves. And that was what his whole thing, that's why they were so against him, because they wanted to continue to spoon feed the congregation and tell them, we read to y'all and we do the studying, and y'all just take what we say and y'all do what we say and this and that. When that is not the way God wants us to live. He wants us to get our own revelation from the studying that we do. And if you're not getting any revelation, if you're not feeling any growth, it's not because of your pastor. It's not because of these other things. It's because you are not spending the time yourself in order to grow and learn and read the word for yourself. If you don't know how government works, if you don't understand why this party or that party is doing this or that, or your candidate is voting this or that way, it's because you're not taking the time yourself to study government and how it works. You know what I'm saying? Voting is more than just putting your ballot in the box. It's knowing, you know what I'm saying, what levels of government are local and state and national and all of the above. You know what I'm saying? Why people go this way, or why districts, you know what I'm saying, get zoned a certain way or what have you. You got to be more involved. And it takes, you doing more than just going to work and coming home with me with your family. It takes you studying and being on your face before God, man. It's time out, you know what I'm saying, for, being passive and then want to get aggressive when something happens. The time to get aggressive is when you at your home. You know what I'm saying? In that word, studying and making the most of that opportunity. That's when you should be aggressive, not when after something happens and you trying to understand it all because you've been sitting back and letting people spoon feed you. That's all I'm saying.
Don't get spoon fed. Find out for yourself.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the talk show.